Good morning, and it's just very welcome privilege for me to welcome two new members to Dáil Éireann, two new members to the Fianna Fáil Parliamentary Party, Malcolm Byrne from Wexford, Padraig O'Sullivan from Cork North Central. It's a great day for them and their families, and indeed the members of our organisation, particularly in the respective constituencies, for the huge effort that they put in. But it's a great honour to be elected to Dáil Éireann, to represent the people. And I have absolutely no doubt that Malcolm and Padraig will work diligently and very hard indeed on behalf of the people of their constituencies and on behalf of the people of Ireland in terms of both legislatively and in terms of their representational obligations. And that's fundamentally what politics is about: representing people, representing communities, taking their grievances, taking their issues to the floor of Parliament, articulating them and giving reflection to those then in legislation and also in terms of general debate. And without doubt, over the last month, anybody who's been knocking on doors, without question, health, housing, emerging anti-social and crime and drugs issues, in addition to climate change, they're the key issues that consistently are articulated on the doorsteps, and that was certainly our experience in the 4 constituencies that we campaigned in during these by-elections. And we thank the people for electing Padraig and for electing Malcolm. So over to your good selves.
I suppose we could ask Padraig as well and say congratulations to him. Padraig, before you joined the party, you said at Fianna Fáil that you were tired of the corrupt, self-serving politicians that the party and Fine Gael normally associate themselves with. Is that still your view?
I suppose that comment was back in 2010, as you said, when I ran as an independent in the general election. Since then I've contested 3 elections for Fianna Fáil, successful in each of them, thankful to say. So I'm looking forward to the day ahead, spending time with my family here today and enjoying my first day here.
So it's not your view then?
No.
Miguel, have you decided about giving the 2 new deputies any portfolios for the time being?
Not at this stage, no, Gavin. It's the first day, and what's that, man?
I said they just brought the lunchbox.
No, but I think obviously, in terms of preparing and in terms of the next number of months, there will be a range of issues that they can get stuck into, and certainly, we have various particular tasks that we give to TDs, irrespective of whether they're on a front bench or not. And as I know myself from my own experiences emerging as a TD, you create your niche, you create issues yourself. Both come from a strong education background. Malcolm, as you know, worked with the Higher Education Authority, Padraig, a teacher. I suppose one of the great successes of Fianna Fáil historically has been education, and I know both are passionate about education, and I have no doubt they will give vent to that in the coming months.
Malcolm or Padraig, it's a brief enough period before possibly the next general election, not much time to get your feet under the table. Any hopes or ambitions in the brief amount of time before you may face the electorate again?
I hope it's not decided tonight. I think after a challenge of a November election and having been on 3 ballot papers already this year, I don't really want to be on a 4th just before Christmas. But I think it's very clear, and from knocking on the doors in Wexford over the last number of weeks and months, on issues like housing and health and in rural Ireland, this government is seen to have failed. People want to change a government, and our role over the next while is to contribute towards showing that there is an alternative in place and setting out the policy solutions to those challenges.
This is another occasion on which Fianna Fáil is abstaining on a motion of confidence or no confidence in the government or a minister. Can you give a guarantee that this is the last time that you'll be doing this in this door?
Well, first of all, I think, let's be straight, no one expected this motion to pass tonight, actually. I certainly didn't, and I don't expect it to pass for obvious reasons. It was, to be fair, the Social Democrats tabled a motion in the middle of the by-election. That's their prerogative, but I don't think anyone was serious about there being a general election in and around Christmas Day, and certainly the public wouldn't have been thankful for that. I've been very clear where I see the trajectory of this Dáil. We did not get enough seats in the last general election. We stood up to the plate in terms of facilitating the formation of a government based on policy, a policy platform. Let's remember, it has to be about policy. It can't be just about who's in office and who's out of offices. And that policy platform was across the board in terms of crime and policing, in terms of education, health and housing. And the government have failed clearly in health and housing. Now, I said earlier, a number of weeks ago, that I felt that the Easter was a natural cut-off point for this Parliament, and that there was a lot of sense, given that when we stood up to the plate, we did create stability. And with the Brexit situation in the last year in particular, and the threat of a no-deal Brexit hanging over us twice this year, March and October, it was the responsible thing to do, the right thing to do in the national interest, not to pull the plug, not to create instability. And when you contrast, and people who say this to me, they contrast the stability, the national consensus on Brexit here with the incoherence and mayhem in British politics. And I think what we have demonstrated as a party, that confidence is applying, we've facilitated that this Parliament can get things done, notwithstanding the fact that no party had a majority. That said, we're now into the Christmas recess. You're looking into a short period, if you actually look at it from a legislative point of view in terms of January, February and March. I think April is the 12th, Easter is the 12th of April. That to me is the natural cut-off point, but that's where we see it. We believe that the likes of Owen Murphy and Simon Harris should now go before the people. I mean, I actually think...
my question, really.
Yeah, that's my question. They should be accountable to the people. I don't want Owen Murphy getting off the hook through a parliamentary vote. I want him to go before the people in a general election and defend his failings in terms of housing. I want Simon Harris to go before the people in terms of health and argue the points in relation to health with our spokespeople and with other spokespeople. And that to me is the real cauldron. That's the next big battleground. It'll be the general election. Everything else between... Sorry, Fiat?
Have you had any engagement so far with Taoiseach about how this may come to an end and when?
No, I haven't. But no, I haven't. No, I haven't, and that remains to be seen. Yeah, but I think there is a natural trajectory here now.
How do you square your desire for Simon Harris and Owen Murphy to go before the people, and the electorate in Wexford and Cork decided that they wanted to go for someone who isn't part of the government, with the fact that you are still going to sit in your hands tonight and still come?
I mean, look, as far as I'm concerned, there was never going to be, we were never seriously contemplating anything but abstaining tonight because of the timeline and so on, and also because we will be masters of our destiny, in the sense that we will, I have my view as to when the Dáil should wind down, so to speak.
But that's to say then you would abstain on this if it were to come in March, but not abstain if it were to come in April?
No, I'm basically of a view that from the Fianna Fáil perspective, Easter to me is a natural time to bring this Dáil to an end in terms of the legislative programme. I mean, there will be legislation that we'll have to get together. Obviously, the finance bill and the social protection bill had to be done before Christmas. I knew that 3 months ago when I said, 12 months ago when I said that we were not going to bring the government down because of Brexit. That meant a budget. A budget means a finance bill. It means a social protection bill. And if anything has changed in the modern era through our leadership in opposition, it's that this idea that you pull down a government every time you get a chance has more or less been gone now. There is a responsibility on us to do things in an orderly way, notwithstanding the anger out there and so on. And I think, people, I've talked to people out there, they know there's going to be an election in the springtime. That's factored in. So stunts like this, or procedures like this, in terms of emotion or confidence, doesn't alter the people's perspective on that. Well, it's leir de coch. Níléine ag tinúle altóchan lánanog, nú láinig lánanog. Agus bhí sé sin sa léir an tachtain se caite, bhí sé sa léir domsa, cé go bhfuil daoine faragach don rialtas mar le cuasaí taíochta agus cuasaí sláinte agus lánithe eile. I móthúm tá trasán inis. Aimse na cásca stócha an Thomas iarúnach, iarúní is fad chun an Dáil a chur chun críoch, agus sin an tuairm a bhíagam, cúpla seachtain hin, sinna an tuairm atá fósa gom, agus beimid i cumad an brú an rialtas. So I want to talk the seachtainna atá roing ná an chóras sláinte tá brú uafásach na sheriffisí sláinte agus go háirithe na hospidéal agus na ionad ag an dála ag an báta seo. Tá dúlgus an rialtas inis gach éon iirecht a dhéanamh chun an brú sin a íslú, a leidú agus níos mór frísibh a chóirt do muinte na tíre mar le na sheriffisí sláinte agus go háirithe na daoine éasta. I just say that basically the big obligation on the government right now and in the coming months is to give relief to people in terms of the extraordinary pressure on our health services. That is the big challenge right now. We saw it over the last week in terms of the emergency departments in the children's hospitals and the terrible situation of elderly patients in desperate situations, and really the Minister for Health and the government must focus on, I think additional measures now need to be brought in to make sure that we don't witness this type of experiences being repeated in January and in February, and that is the obligation of government right now. I mean, it shouldn't, if anything summed up the detachment of the government and government deputies and government ministers and the Fine Gael approach was Kate O'Connell's kind of declaration that the Children's Hospital was unacceptable in terms of the waiting lists. I mean, the people on the doors were saying, how long does it take people in office to get this? That's not a surprise to many people out there who experienced emergency departments in our hospital services.
Micheál, should TDs have second jobs or second forms of income aside from income as an elected representative?
Well, I think there's been long-standing. I mean, Parliament has to represent the diversity of people, so there will be self-employed people who will be elected to the Parliament, there will be farmers elected to Parliament, there will be a variety of professions, and that's as it should be, in my view, in terms of a modern, diverse Parliament. But what is essential is that a parliamentarian works as a parliamentarian and works on behalf of their people diligently and effectively, and that's the key question, because I take it you're referring to the Darragh Murphy situation.
Well, also Patrick O'Donovan said yesterday in RT that there are questions now about whether TD should have second.
Yeah, well, I think I think it's an attempt by Patrick to try and divert and distract from the core issue that the people of the north side of Cork were neglected for 2 years, where they didn't have a representative. They weren't represented on the ground. Darragh, in my view, should have resigned when he got that full-time job with the EPP, the Fine Gael party in Europe. That's what probably should have happened. I think Fine Gael know that the north side was neglected for 2 years, that they didn't really have a TD on the ground. The Taoiseach endorsed that position. He endorsed it as late as last week, and I think the Taoiseach was wrong to facilitate Darragh Murphy in that regard, in terms of really working in Brussels but not really working in North Central. And I don't think anyone can argue that there was any input, really parliamentary input, be it from a representational point of view, in terms of turning up at residents' meetings, in terms of dealing with community issues, dealing with the issues in the north side, and also in terms of legislative input.
Could be a rare sighting of the TD across the benches from you this evening. Do you think Darragh Murphy should pay back the expenses he's claiming, especially before he heads to a full job?
Well, I think that's a matter for Darragh Murphy. I think he should give very serious consideration to how he's handled all of this and make amends. But I think fundamentally the key issue is about representation and about not doing the job that the people elected them to do. These two new deputies today have been entrusted, the people have now entrusted them with the task of representing them in the Parliament. And certainly in North Central there was a sense that Darragh Murphy had disappeared really as a TD for 2 years. That's not good enough, and I think there is an issue there that we do as a Parliament have to grapple with.
Well, Micheál, just to be clear, you do think it's okay for other elected representatives to have second forms of income, second jobs, be it farmers, pharmacists, whatever, barristers?
Look, I think if you start pronouncing that you can only have one job, I mean that narrows the focus again in terms of. I mean, I have the one job, right? In terms of and always have had in terms of being a TD. But others come from different backgrounds, and they make arrangements in terms of. I mean, I don't know the story about every individual TD, but you do need a diversity of and this is for a different day, but Parliament is getting narrower in terms of people who are going forward. Same with county councils. 20 years ago, there would have been a much broader range of people on the county council than there is today. So you just need to be in the heat of the moment, not to be making declarations about those kind of things. I think Patrick Donovan to me was clearly trying to divert, distract and broaden the debate to take away from their obviously embarrassment in relation to Darren Murphy's performance or non-performance as a TD for the last 2 years.
Can I ask Paddy Sullivan, would you be liking to make...
Paul, go ahead.
Oh, just could I ask, congratulations Paddy Sullivan. Would you like to be making a mark today by being able to go into the chamber and vote against the housing minister when Fianna Fáil believes that housing has failed people, particularly in Cork North Central, rather than abstain?
Trust me, as Micheál has already said, housing and homelessness was featured very strongly on the doors. We have no, I suppose, desire to prolong the stay of the housing minister as is, but as Micheál said, there's going to be a natural conclusion to this. An election early in the new year, March, April time, I think there'll be a natural conclusion to this debate, and the best way is for the public to have their say on the performance of the minister.
Elections out of the way, like the next event is the general election. Are you confident that your front bench team has been settled before the election, or do you envisage any more changes before the election to your front bench?
I think I keep everything under constant review, as you know, Fiach, and certainly, but I think we have a strong front bench, and I think we have a very capable front bench, and I think many members of the front bench are performing well in terms of commanding their brief and in terms of putting the ministers under pressure, and have highlighted and revealed many issues. And I think we have, the talent base in the party is expanding. As I say, I keep all of that under review. I want to thank our Director of Elections, Michael McGrath, in terms of Cork North Central, and Barry Cowan in terms of Wexford, and Tomas Byrne in terms of Fingal, and Jack Chambers in terms of Midwest. And I think that all four senior members of the party worked diligently, and I think that's a reflection of the multi-task nature of being a member of the front bench. Well, as I said to, I think I said it to you before, in the careers of many politicians, you have good moments, you have difficult moments, and the next major event will be the general election, people do make returns, make comebacks.
Is that a yes or no?
I'm very clear that in terms of that what I'm saying, in any political career there's always a future, but the people decide that, Danny, and the people will decide in terms of the next general election.
Just on what you were saying earlier about Owen Murphy going before the people, do you think Owen Murphy's going to lose his seat in the next election whenever we have it?
Well, I don't know the ins and outs of that particular constituency in terms of what will happen, but we'll be concentrating on getting our people elected.
Thank you.
No, into committee.